If you've ever felt scattered, overwhelmed, or frustrated by your progress, I want you to know one thing up front. It's not because you're slow. The real reason your goals seem out of reach, despite your best efforts, is fragmentation. Too many priorities, too many distractions, and too much redeciding the same things over and over. It's not a lack of speed holding you back. It's a lack of systematic focus. Top performers aren't born faster. They've simply built reliable systems that amplify their focus and sustain momentum. They don't waste mental energy juggling multiple priorities or recovering from frequent interruptions. Instead, they channel their effort into concentrated, purposeful action. In this book, you'll discover that speed isn't an innate gift. It's a skill you can design, cultivate, and master. You'll uncover hidden obstacles stealing hours from your day, learn simple yet powerful shifts that dramatically multiply your progress, and unlock the secret practices top performers use to become unstoppable. By implementing the principles and systems outlined here, you'll transform scattered, fragmented effort into clear, decisive action. Whether you struggle with procrastination, overwhelm, or simply feel your current methods aren't enough, the frameworks in You're Not Slow, How to Progress Way Faster Than Anyone, are specifically designed to help you break through barriers and accelerate your success. It's time to stop believing the myth that you're slow. With the right systems in place, you'll see how effortlessly speed becomes your new normal. Let's begin. Chapter 1, You're Not Slow. The alarm screams at 6 a.m. and you're already behind. Your mind races through 17 different priorities while your coffee brews. Check email, update the proposal, fix the website bug, call that prospect, finish the presentation, review the budget, and somehow, by evening, you've been busy for 12 hours but can't point to a single meaningful thing you've shipped. Sound familiar? Here's the truth that changes everything. You're not slow, you're scattered. This isn't a motivational pep talk, it's a diagnostic. The problem isn't your work ethic, your intelligence, or your ambition. The problem is fragmentation, and fragmentation has a cure. The real speed killers. Most ambitious builders think speed comes from working faster. Wrong. Speed comes from working on fewer things with ruthless consistency. Right now, you're probably juggling 8 priorities, switching between 12 browser tabs, and redeciding the same choices every single day. Let's quantify the damage. Count your current priorities, not the ones you tell people about, but the actual projects competing for your attention this week. If the number is higher than 3, you've found your first speed killer. Each additional priority doesn't just add work, it multiplies coordination costs and decision fatigue. Now count your daily context switches. Email to Slack, to project file, to social media, to another email. The average knowledge worker switches contexts every 3 minutes. Each switch triggers a cognitive reload that burns 15 to 25 minutes of deep focus. Do the math. That's not productivity. That's expensive procrastination disguised as busyness. The worst part? You're probably waiting for the perfect plan before you start anything meaningful. You research tools, read case studies, outline strategies, all while your competitors ship imperfect solutions and learn from real feedback. Overplanning feels like progress, but it's actually sophisticated procrastination. Reality is the only teacher that matters, and reality only shows up after you ship. The compound effect of staying scattered. If you don't fix this fragmentation, here's what happens over the next 12 months. You'll start dozens of projects and finish almost none. Your half-built graveyard will grow, abandoned websites, incomplete courses, pitch decks that never got sent. Each restart costs more energy than the last because you've lost momentum and forgotten context. Your skills will plateau because you never get enough repetitions in any single area to achieve mastery. While you're switching between marketing, product development, and operations, your focused competitors will lap you with simpler systems and deeper expertise. Worst of all, you'll develop what I call the doubt spiral. When nothing gets finished, confidence erodes. When confidence erodes, you overthink every decision. When you overthink, you delay action. When you delay action, nothing gets finished. The The cycle feeds itself until you're paralyzed by your own potential. What changes when you get this right? But here's what happens when you flip the script and embrace systematic focus. You develop what I call durable momentum. Instead of starting and stopping, you build streaks that compound. A 100-day streak of daily shipping doesn't just create output, it rewires your identity. You become the person who finishes things. Your learning accelerates because you're getting repetitions in a single lane rather than dabbling across multiple domains. Feedback becomes specific and actionable instead of random and overwhelming. You develop intuition, that mysterious ability to make fast, accurate decisions based on pattern recognition. Most importantly, you gain what every successful builder craves: predictable progress. Stakeholders start trusting your timelines because you consistently hit them. Opportunities compound because people know you'll actually execute. Your reputation shifts from smart person with lots of ideas to the one who gets things done. The system that changes everything. This book gives you an 8-step operating system that transforms scattered effort into focused momentum. These aren't random productivity hacks. They're a sequence of interconnected principles that build on each other. Decide once eliminates the daily energy drain of relitigating the same choices. You'll make binding commitments at the identity level and create default rules that remove willpower from routine decisions. Single focus concentrates your force on one project, one metric, one deadline. No more juggling, no more context switching, just depth that compounds. Relentless Doing makes shipping your default mode. You'll learn the 2-pass method that produces artifacts daily while maintaining quality standards. 100 days turns momentum into identity through minimum viable consistency. Small daily reps that you can't miss, even on your worst days. Brutal simplicity strips away everything that doesn't move your lead metric. Fewer tools, fewer meetings, fewer decisions. Friction Audit finds and eliminates the micro barriers that steal minutes and break flow states. Anti-scroll protects your attention from the novelty addiction that masquerades as research. Each step builds on the previous one. Decision clarity enables focus. Focus enables consistent shipping. Consistent shipping builds streaks. Streaks create identity. Identity makes the whole system automatic. Why this order matters. These steps follow a specific logic. You can't focus until you've decided what to focus on. You can't ship consistently until you've eliminated the switching penalty. You can't build streaks until you've removed friction from starting and restarting. Decision comes before action because clarity collapses doubt, and doubt is the enemy of speed. Focus comes before volume because concentrated effort compounds faster than scattered effort. Daily shipping comes before optimization because data beats opinions, and you need data to know what to optimize. The sequence is designed to create momentum quickly while building sustainable systems for the long term. Most productivity advice gives you tactics without strategy. This gives you both, a complete operating system that works under pressure. Winners versus losers in the speed game. Winners in this game have a simple pattern. Decide, narrow, ship, review, repeat. They make fast decisions with incomplete information, then iterate based on feedback. They protect their streaks like sacred rituals. They act now and correct in motion. Losers follow a different pattern. Debate, expand, tinker, delay. They seek perfect information before deciding. They add complexity instead of subtracting it. They chase novelty instead of depth. They wait for the right moment instead of making the moment right. The difference isn't talent or resources, it's system design. Winners have designed their days to minimize friction and maximize output. Losers rely on motivation and wonder why they can't maintain momentum. Your first move. Right now, before you read another chapter, do this. Pick one outcome you want to achieve in the next 30 days. Not 3 outcomes. 1. Write it down with a specific metric and a non-negotiable deadline. Then, identify the smallest artifact you can ship today that moves you toward that outcome. Not tomorrow, today. Set a timer for 2 hours and produce something, a draft, a prototype, a pitch, a test. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be done. Ship it before 5 p.m., log it somewhere visible. Mark an X on your calendar. That's your first step into a new operating system, one where speed isn't hoped for, it's designed. Where momentum isn't accidental, it's systematic. Where you're not slow, you're just getting started. The next chapter reveals the foundation of this entire system, how to decide once and eliminate the hidden energy drain that's been sabotaging your speed for years. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Grow to the Top and activate notifications to receive more self-improvement tips that will supercharge your growth. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2. Decide once. You check your phone and see 3 text messages about the project deadline. Your business partner wants to pivot the strategy. Your contractor suggests a different approach. Your mentor recommends waiting for more market research. By 10 a.m., you've already redecided the same choice 4 times, and you haven't even started working yet. This is the hidden tax that's stealing your speed. Redeciding. Every time you revisit a choice you've already made, you're not just wasting time, you're fragmenting your mental energy and eroding your confidence. The fastest builders in the world share one trait. They decide once, then execute relentlessly. But here's what most people get wrong about decision-making. They think great decisions come from gathering more information, weighing more options, and taking more time. Wrong. Great decisions come from making binding commitments quickly, then improving through action rather than analysis. The energy vampire you can't see. Your brain craves closure. When decisions remain open, they create what psychologists call open loops, unfinished mental processes that drain your working memory even when you're not consciously thinking about them. Right now, you probably have dozens of these loops running in the background. Should I redesign the website? Should I hire that freelancer? Should I launch next month or wait until Q2? Each open loop is an energy vampire. It sucks cognitive resources that could be powering execution. Worse, it creates hesitation at the moment of action. When you sit down to work, instead of diving in, you pause to reevaluate. Should I really be working on this? Is this the right approach? Maybe I should research alternatives first. This hesitation is momentum's kryptonite. The fastest path from idea to outcome is a straight line, but redeciding creates zigzags. You start, stop, reconsider, restart, pivot, pause, and wonder why you feel busy but unproductive. The solution isn't better decision-making. It's deciding once and protecting that decision from erosion. The constraint paradox. Here's something that sounds backwards but changes everything. Constraints create speed, not options. When you have unlimited choices, you get paralyzed by possibility. When you have clear boundaries, you get liberated to act. Think about it. When someone says, write anything you want, you stare at a blank page. When they say, write 500 words about customer acquisition in the next hour, you start typing immediately. The constraint doesn't limit creativity, it focuses it. The same principle applies to business decisions. When you keep all options open, you move slowly because every action requires reevaluation. When you close off alternatives and commit to a path, you move fast because the next step is obvious. This is why the most successful entrepreneurs often seem narrow-minded to outside observers. They're not narrow-minded, they're constraint-minded. They've learned that saying no to good opportunities creates space to say yes to great execution. The identity shift that changes everything. Most people think discipline is about willpower. They try to force themselves to stick to decisions through sheer mental effort. This works for a few days, maybe a few weeks, then they burn out and revert to old patterns. The real secret is identity-based commitment. Instead of deciding what to do, you decide who you are. Instead of, I should work on the product today, you declare, I am someone who ships daily. Instead of, I might try content marketing, you commit, we are a content-first company. When decisions become identity statements, they stop being daily negotiations. You don't wake up wondering whether to work out if you've decided, I am someone who exercises every morning. You don't debate whether to publish if you've committed, we ship every Tuesday. This identity shift transforms discipline from a willpower battle into an automatic response. You act according to your declared identity, not your momentary mood. The focus contract. Here's how you implement the decide once principle starting today. You're going to write what I call a focus contract, a single document that eliminates 90% of your daily decisions by pre-committing to your path. Your focus contract has 4 elements: outcome, vehicle, deadline, and daily cutoff. The outcome is your specific, measurable goal, not grow the business but acquire 50 new customers. The vehicle is your chosen method, not try marketing but publish daily LinkedIn content. The deadline is non-negotiable, not sometime this quarter but March 15th, no extensions. The daily cutoff is when you stop working and ship whatever you have, not when it's perfect, but 5 p.m. regardless. Write this contract by hand, sign it, post it where you'll see it every morning. This isn't just planning, it's identity declaration. You're not just choosing a strategy, you're choosing who you become. Default rules that eliminate debate. The focus contract handles the big decision, but you need default rules for the small ones that pop up daily. These come in 2 forms, your yes list and your no list. Your yes list contains 3 actions you always take, no matter what. These might be respond to customer emails within 4 hours, publish 1 piece of content daily, and review metrics every morning at 9 a.m. When these situations arise, you don't decide. You execute according to your pre-declared standard. Your no list contains 3 things you never do during work hours. These might be check social media, attend meetings without agendas, and start new projects before finishing current ones. When these temptations arise, you don't negotiate, you decline according to your pre-declared boundary. These lists eliminate hundreds of micro-decisions that would otherwise fragment your attention. They transform discipline from a series of willpower battles into a simple reference check. Is this on my yes list or no list? The decision velocity metric. Speed isn't just about moving fast, it's about deciding fast. The most successful builders I know track something called decision velocity, how quickly they close decision loops, and how often they relitigate choices they've already made. Start measuring 3 things: how many decisions you make per day, how long each decision takes, and what percentage of decisions you revisit. You'll probably discover that you're spending hours each week redeciding things you've already decided. The goal isn't perfect decisions, it's fast, reversible decisions that you stick to long enough to generate data. Most decisions are 2-way doors. You can try something for 30 days, measure the results, and adjust. But you can't measure anything if you keep changing direction every few days. The myths that keep you stuck. 3 dangerous myths keep most people trapped in redecision loops. First, the myth that keeping options open is safer. In reality, options without action are just delays in disguise. While you're preserving flexibility, your focused competitors are building momentum. Second, the myth that you need perfect information before deciding. Most information only becomes available after you act. The market doesn't reveal its secrets to researchers, it reveals them to builders who ship and iterate. Third, the myth that great leaders make perfect decisions. Study any successful entrepreneur, and you'll find they make fast decisions with incomplete information, then course correct based on feedback. They protect their pace more than their pride. When decisions go wrong, what happens when you commit to a path and it's clearly not working? This is where most people abandon the decide once principle and return to endless option weighing. Don't. Instead, use what I call kill criteria, pre-declared conditions that trigger a pivot. Before you commit to any path, write down the specific metrics or timeframes that would signal it's time to change course. This might be, if we don't see 10% growth in 60 days, or if customer acquisition cost exceeds $200. Kill criteria protect you from both premature pivoting and stubborn persistence. They let you commit fully while maintaining rational exit ramps. The key is deciding your kill criteria before you start, not during moments of doubt or frustration. Emotions make terrible strategic advisors, but they make excellent executors of pre-decided plans. The compound effect of decisive action. When you master the decide once principle, something magical happens. Your decision-making speed increases, but more importantly, your confidence in your decisions grows. Confidence creates momentum. Momentum creates results. Results create more confidence. You stop second-guessing yourself and start trusting your judgment. You stop researching and start testing. You stop planning and start building. The gap between idea and execution shrinks from weeks to hours. Your team and stakeholders notice the change too. They start trusting your timelines because you consistently hit them. They stop offering unsolicited advice because you project clarity and conviction. They start following your lead because you're actually leading somewhere specific. But there's one more element that transforms decisive action into unstoppable momentum. It's not enough to decide once. You need to focus that decision with laser precision. The next chapter reveals how the world's fastest builders concentrate their force on a single target while everyone else scatters their energy across multiple fronts. Chapter 3. Single Focus. Watch a master craftsman at work. The woodworker doesn't jump between carving, sanding, and finishing every few minutes. The surgeon doesn't pause mid-operation to check on 3 other patients. The chess grandmaster doesn't play 5 games simultaneously and expect to win any of them. Yet, this is exactly how most ambitious builders approach their work. They're writing a proposal while answering emails, while updating their website, while planning next quarter's strategy. They call it multitasking. The truth is more brutal. They're destroying their own potential through fragmentation. Here's what the fastest builders know that everyone else ignores. Speed comes from concentration of force, not distribution of effort. When you focus all your energy on one target, you don't just move faster, you move exponentially faster. The hidden tax on your potential. Every time you switch between tasks, your brain pays a tax, not a small one, a massive one. Researchers call it the switching penalty, and it's stealing hours from your day without you realizing it. When you jump from writing code to answering emails to reviewing designs, your brain doesn't instantly adapt. It needs time to reload context, remember where you left off, and rebuild the mental model of what you're working on. This cognitive reload takes anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes, not seconds, minutes. Do the math. If you switch contexts 6 times per day, which is conservative for most knowledge workers, you're losing up to 2.5 hours of productive time. That's not just inefficiency, that's sabotage. But the switching penalty goes deeper than lost time. Each switch also degrades the quality of your work. When your attention is fragmented, you miss subtle details, make more errors, and produce work that feels rushed and shallow. You're not just working slower, you're working worse. The solution isn't time management, it's attention management. Instead of trying to do multiple things efficiently, you need to do one thing completely. The compound power of depth. When you work on the same project for extended periods, something magical happens. Your skills don't just improve, they accelerate. Your tools become extensions of your hands. Your intuition sharpens. Your feedback loops tighten. This is the compound power of depth. Each hour you spend in the same domain builds on the previous hour. Knowledge accumulates, patterns emerge, shortcuts reveal themselves. What took you 2 hours yesterday takes you 1 hour today. Contrast this with the scattered approach. When you switch between different types of work, you never build momentum in any single area. You're constantly starting from scratch, relearning contexts, and rebuilding mental models. You stay perpetually at the beginner level across multiple domains instead of achieving mastery in one. The fastest builders understand this trade-off. They'd rather be exceptional at one thing than mediocre at 10 things. They know that depth creates leverage, and leverage creates speed. The predictability advantage. Focus doesn't just make you faster, it makes you predictable. When you're working on one project with one metric and one deadline, Stakeholders can track your progress. They know what to expect and when to expect it. This predictability becomes a massive competitive advantage. Clients trust you with bigger projects because you consistently deliver. Partners want to work with you because you don't create chaos. Investors back you because you hit your milestones. Scattered builders, on the other hand, create uncertainty. They make promises across multiple fronts but struggle to deliver on any of them. Their progress reports sound like excuses. Their timelines feel like wishful thinking. The market rewards predictability with premium pricing, better opportunities, and stronger relationships. Focus isn't just an internal productivity strategy, it's an external positioning strategy. The one project rule. Here's how you implement single focus starting today. Pick one project, just one, that will move your business forward in the next 30 to 60 days. Not 3 projects that might work. One project that will work. Choose based on 3 criteria: impact, feasibility, and excitement. Impact means it directly moves your key metric. Feasibility means you can complete it with your current resources. Excitement means you're genuinely energized by the work, not just the outcome. Write a clear definition of done for this project. Not improve the website, but redesign the homepage, add 3 case studies, and implement the new contact form. Not launch the course, but record 12 modules, build the member portal, and enroll the first 10 students. This definition becomes your North Star. Every day you ask one question: does this task move me closer to done? If yes, you do it. If no, you don't. It's that simple. Designing your deep work architecture. Single focus requires more than good intentions. It requires structural changes to how you organize your days. You need to create what I call deep work blocks, protected periods where you work on your one project without interruption. Start with 2 90-minute blocks per day. One in the morning when your mental energy is highest, and one in the afternoon when you can build on the morning's momentum. These aren't suggestions on your calendar. They're sacred commitments. During these blocks, everything else disappears. Phone on silent, email closed, Slack notifications off, door shut. You exist in a bubble of pure focus, working on your one project with laser intensity. The key is protecting these blocks like you'd protect a client meeting. You wouldn't cancel a client meeting because someone wanted to chat about a random idea. Don't cancel your deep work blocks either. Between blocks, you can handle the administrative work that keeps your business running. But during blocks, you're untouchable. The parking lot strategy. The biggest threat to single focus isn't external interruptions, it's internal ones. Your brain will generate dozens of brilliant ideas while you're trying to focus. New features to add, different approaches to try, tangential projects to explore. Most people either ignore these ideas and lose potentially valuable insights or chase them immediately and destroy their focus. There's a third option, the parking lot. Keep a simple document where you capture every idea that pops up during your focused work. Don't evaluate it, don't research it, don't act on it. Just write it down and return to your one project. Once a week, review your parking lot. Most ideas will seem less brilliant in the cold light of reflection. The few that still excite you can be considered for your next focus cycle after you've completed your current project. This approach honors your creativity while protecting your focus. You don't lose ideas, but you don't let ideas derail your momentum either. The myth of productive multitasking. Let's destroy the most dangerous myth in productivity, that multitasking makes you more efficient. It doesn't. What people call multitasking is actually rapid task switching, and it's productivity poison. When you think you're multitasking, you're really switching between tasks so quickly that it feels simultaneous. But your brain can only focus on one complex task at a time. Every switch creates a cognitive gap where nothing productive happens. The research is clear. People who multitask take longer to complete tasks, make more mistakes, and experience higher stress levels. They feel busy and important, but they're actually less effective than people who work on one thing at a time. The fastest builders have learned to resist the multitasking trap. They know that doing one thing completely is always faster than doing three things partially. When focus feels risky, the biggest objection to single focus is fear. What if you pick the wrong project? What if a better opportunity comes along? What if you miss out on something important? This fear is understandable, but misguided. The real risk isn't picking the wrong project, it's never finishing any project. The market doesn't reward perfect choices, it rewards completed work. Remember, most business decisions are reversible. You can work on one project for 60 days, evaluate the results, and adjust your strategy. But you can't evaluate anything if you never finish anything. The opportunity cost of scattered effort is always higher than the opportunity cost of focused effort. When you spread your energy across multiple projects, you guarantee mediocre results. When you concentrate your energy on one project, you at least have a chance at exceptional results. The compounding effect of concentrated effort. When you master single focus, you don't just work faster, you learn faster. Each project becomes a masterclass in execution. You develop systems, templates, and processes that make the next project even more efficient. Your reputation evolves too. Instead of being known as someone with lots of ideas, you become known as someone who executes ideas. Instead of being the person who starts things, you become the person who finishes things. This shift in perception opens doors that scattered effort never could. People bring you their most important projects because they trust you to complete them. Opportunities compound because each finished project demonstrates your capability. But there's still one crucial element missing from your focus strategy. Even with clear decisions and concentrated effort, you can still get stuck in the planning phase, perfecting your approach instead of testing it in the real world. The next chapter reveals how the world's fastest builders turn focused attention into finished assets through a principle that makes perfectionism impossible. Chapter 4: Relentless Doing. You've been working on the same project for 3 weeks. The strategy is solid, the research is thorough, the plan is detailed. But when someone asks what you've shipped, you pause. Well, you've made progress. You've refined the approach. You've gathered more insights. But shipped? Actually delivered something tangible to the world? That's coming soon. This is the trap that kills more ambitious projects than bad ideas, insufficient funding, or market timing combined. It's the trap of perpetual preparation, the illusion that more planning leads to better outcomes. The truth is more brutal. The market doesn't care about your plans. It only responds to what you ship. The fastest builders in the world have learned something that separates them from everyone else. They ship first, then perfect. They understand that execution isn't the final step in a perfect plan. It's the first step in an iterative process, the reality check that changes everything. Here's what most people get backwards about building anything meaningful. They think the sequence is plan perfectly, then execute flawlessly, then succeed inevitably. This sounds logical, but it's completely wrong. The real sequence is ship something, learn from reality, improve based on feedback, ship again. The market is the only teacher that matters, and the market only teaches through interaction with real products, real services, and real solutions. Every hour you spend perfecting something in isolation is an hour you could have spent learning from real users, real customers, and real feedback. The gap between what you think people want and what they actually want can only be closed through shipping, not through thinking. This isn't about lowering standards or accepting mediocrity. It's about understanding that quality emerges through iteration, not through isolation. The best products in the world weren't born perfect. They were born functional, then improved relentlessly based on real-world feedback. The compound power of daily artifacts. When you commit to shipping something every day, you don't just increase your output, you transform your entire relationship with work. Instead of asking, "Is this perfect?" you start asking, "Is this useful?" Instead of waiting for inspiration, you create momentum. Instead of fearing judgment, you seek feedback. Daily shipping creates what I call artifact momentum. Each thing you complete, a draft, a prototype, a demo, a test, becomes evidence that you can finish things. This evidence builds confidence. Confidence reduces hesitation. Reduced hesitation increases speed. But there's a deeper psychological shift that happens when you ship daily. You stop treating each piece of work like a precious artwork that must be perfect. You start treating it like one experiment in a series of experiments. This mental shift is liberating. It removes the pressure that paralyzes most people and replaces it with curiosity about what you'll learn next. The compound effect is extraordinary. After 30 days of daily shipping, you've created 30 pieces of evidence that you can execute. After 90 days, you've built an undeniable track record. After a year, you've developed a reputation for getting things done. The two-pass method that eliminates perfectionism. Here's the tactical framework that makes daily shipping possible without sacrificing quality. It's called the two-pass method, and it's designed to separate creation from refinement. Pass 1 is pure production. You create without judgment, editing, or optimization. Your only goal is to get the core idea out of your head and into the world in some tangible form. This might be a rough draft, a basic prototype, or a simple demo. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to exist. Pass 2 is focused refinement. You take what you created in Pass 1 and elevate it to your minimum standard. You fix obvious errors, improve clarity, and ensure it meets your quality threshold. But you don't chase perfection, you chase good enough to ship. The key is that Pass 2 has a hard deadline. Whether it's 5 p.m. today or noon tomorrow, you ship when the deadline arrives, regardless of whether you think it could be better. This deadline forces you to scope your refinement to the available time, not the available improvements. This method protects you from the perfectionism trap while ensuring you maintain standards. You're not shipping garbage, but you're also not holding work hostage to impossible standards. The cycle time revolution. The most successful builders obsess over one metric that most people ignore: cycle time. This is the duration between starting something and shipping it. The faster your cycle time, the more experiments you can run. The more experiments you run, the faster you learn. The faster you learn, the better your decisions become. Most people think in terms of big releases: the perfect product launch, the comprehensive course, the complete rebrand. But big releases have long cycle times, which means slow learning and delayed feedback. By the time you discover what's working and what isn't, you've invested months of effort in the wrong direction. Fast builders think in terms of small releases: the minimum viable feature, the single lesson, the one-page improvement. These have short cycle times, which means rapid learning and immediate feedback. You can test 10 small ideas in the time it takes to perfect one big idea. The psychological benefit is just as important as the strategic one. When you ship frequently, you get frequent wins. Frequent wins build momentum. Momentum makes the next ship easier. Before you know it, shipping becomes your default mode, not your exceptional effort. The daily cutoff that creates urgency. Nothing creates focus like a deadline, but most people set deadlines for big milestones: the product launch, the course completion, the website redesign. These distant deadlines don't create daily urgency. They create daily procrastination. The solution is the daily cutoff, a non-negotiable time each day when you stop working and ship whatever you have. This might be 5 p.m. or 3 p.m. or whenever your energy typically starts to fade. The specific time matters less than the consistency. The daily cutoff forces you to scope your work to the available time. If you only have 4 hours to create something, you can't spend 3 hours researching and 1 hour executing. You have to start executing immediately and refine as you go. This constraint is liberating. Instead of having infinite time to perfect something, which leads to paralysis, you have finite time to complete something, which leads to action. The cutoff doesn't lower your standards. It focuses them on what matters most. The feedback loop that accelerates learning. Shipping isn't the end goal. It's the beginning of learning. Every time you ship something, you create an opportunity for feedback. This feedback is the raw material for improvement, but only if you're systematic about collecting and applying it. End each day with 3 simple questions. What shipped today? What worked about it? What would make it better tomorrow? These questions transform shipping from a one-time event into a continuous improvement process. The key is to convert feedback into specific actions for the next day. Don't just note that the copy could be clearer. Decide exactly which sentence you'll rewrite tomorrow. Don't just observe that the demo felt rushed. Plan exactly which section you'll expand next time. This daily review creates a feedback loop that accelerates your learning curve. Instead of making the same mistakes repeatedly, you identify patterns and improve systematically. Your second attempt is better than your first. Your 10th is better than your second. And your 100th is unrecognizable from where you started. The myths that keep you stuck. 3 dangerous myths prevent most people from embracing daily shipping. First, the myth that daily shipping kills quality. In reality, daily shipping improves quality through iteration. The first version might be rough, but the 10th version will be polished. Quality emerges through repetition, not through delay. Second, the myth that stakeholders need polish before they can provide useful feedback. The opposite is true. Early, rough versions invite more honest feedback because people don't feel bad about suggesting improvements. Polished versions intimidate people into saying looks great even when they have concerns. Third, the myth that one big release creates more impact than many small releases. Big releases are risky because they bet everything on one approach. Small releases are anti-fragile because they test many approaches and double down on what works. The minimum standard that protects quality. Daily shipping doesn't mean shipping garbage. It means shipping to a minimum standard that you define in advance. This standard should be high enough to maintain your reputation, but low enough to achieve daily. Your minimum standard might include basic functionality, clear communication, and error-free execution. It doesn't include perfect design, comprehensive features, or exhaustive testing. Those improvements come in future iterations. The key is defining this standard before you start working, not during moments of doubt. When you're in the middle of creating something, your judgment is clouded by perfectionism and fear. But when you're calm and objective, you can set realistic standards that balance quality with speed. Write down your minimum standard for each type of work you do. Keep it visible during your work sessions. When you hit the standard and reach your daily cutoff, ship immediately. Resist the urge to just make one more improvement. The identity shift that makes it automatic. The ultimate goal isn't just to ship daily, it's to become someone who ships daily. This identity shift transforms shipping from a forced discipline into an automatic behavior. When you see yourself as someone who ships, you don't debate whether to ship today, you just ship. When you encounter obstacles, you don't use them as excuses to delay. You find ways to ship despite them. When you feel uncertain about quality, you don't hold back. You ship and improve based on feedback. This identity forms through repetition. Each day you ship, you reinforce the belief that you're someone who gets things done. Each completed artifact becomes evidence of your execution capability. Each feedback loop becomes proof that iteration works better than perfection. After enough repetitions, shipping becomes as automatic as checking email or reviewing your calendar. It's not something you have to remember to do. It's something you have to remember not to do. But even with daily shipping momentum, there's one more element that transforms sporadic effort into unstoppable force. It's not enough to ship occasionally when motivation strikes. You need a system that makes shipping inevitable, even on your worst days. The next chapter reveals how the most consistent builders turn daily actions into unbreakable chains that compound over time. Chapter 5, 100 Days. Jerry Seinfeld had a simple rule that made him one of the most successful comedians in history. Every day, he wrote new material. Not when he felt inspired, not when he had a great idea. Every single day. He marked each completed day with a red X on a wall calendar, creating an unbroken chain of X's that stretched for months. When a young comedian asked for advice, Seinfeld didn't talk about talent or timing or finding your voice. He pointed to the calendar and said, don't break the chain. That chain, that relentless, boring, unglamorous commitment to showing up daily is what separates the builders who break through from those who burn out. It's not about heroic efforts or perfect conditions. It's about the compound power of consistency applied over time. But here's what most people miss about streaks. They're not just productivity tools, they're identity transformation systems. The hidden psychology of unbroken chains. When you commit to doing something every day for 100 days, you're not just building a habit, you're rewiring your self-concept. Around day 30, something shifts. You stop being someone who tries to write daily and become someone who writes daily. The action becomes part of who you are, not just what you do. This identity shift is profound. When your streak becomes part of your identity, protecting it becomes automatic. You don't debate whether to do your daily rep. That would be like debating whether to brush your teeth. It's just what you do because it's who you are. The psychology works because consistency creates evidence. Each day you complete your commitment, you prove to yourself that you're the type of person who follows through. This evidence accumulates into unshakable confidence. You start trusting yourself to do what you say you'll do, which makes bigger commitments feel achievable. But there's a deeper mechanism at work. Streaks lower what psychologists call activation energy, the mental effort required to start a task. On day 1, starting feels hard. On day 50, not starting feels harder. The streak creates its own momentum. The minimum viable consistency principle. The biggest mistake people make with streaks is setting the bar too high. They commit to writing 1,000 words daily, then miss a day when they only have 20 minutes. They promise to work out for an hour, then break the streak when they're traveling. They aim for perfection and achieve inconsistency. The solution is minimum viable consistency, setting a floor so low that you can't miss, even on your worst days. This might be writing 50 words, doing 10 push-ups, or sending 1 email. The goal isn't to do the minimum every day. It's to never have an excuse to do nothing. This principle protects your streak during the inevitable chaos of real life. Sick days, travel, family emergencies, work crises, these will happen. But they don't have to break your chain if you've designed a minimum that works under any circumstances. The magic happens when you realize that starting with the minimum often leads to doing more. Once you write the first 50 words, you often write 200. Once you do the first 10 push-ups, you often do 50. But even if you only do the minimum, you've preserved the streak and maintained your identity. The compound mathematics of small gains. Here's the math that changes everything. If you improve by just 1% every day for 100 days, you don't get 100% better. You get 270% better. That's the power of compound improvement applied consistently over time. But the real compounding isn't just in the work itself, it's in your capacity to do the work. Each day you show up, you're not just producing output, you're strengthening your ability to produce output. Your skills improve, your processes get more efficient, your confidence grows, your resistance to starting decreases. This is why consistent builders seem to accelerate over time. They're not just getting better at their craft, they're getting better at the practice of getting better. Their daily reps compound into systems, templates, and shortcuts that make future reps easier and more effective. The separation between consistent and sporadic builders becomes exponential over time. The sporadic builder might have bursts of higher intensity, but the consistent builder has the advantage of time and compounding. Slow and steady doesn't just win the race, it laps the competition. The daily non-negotiable that changes everything. Your 100-day streak needs to be built around one specific, measurable action that directly moves your key metric. Not 3 actions. 1. This isn't about building multiple habits. It's about building one habit so strong that it becomes automatic. The format is simple. Verb plus quantity plus artifact plus metric connection. Write 200 words toward the book manuscript. Send 1 outreach email to potential clients. Record 1 5-minute video for the course. The specificity eliminates decision fatigue and makes completion binary. You either did it or you didn't. This daily action should be tied directly to your focus contract from Chapter 2. If your goal is to launch a course, your daily rep might be creating one lesson component. If your goal is to grow your consulting business, it might be one piece of thought leadership content. The connection between daily action and ultimate outcome must be clear and direct. The key is choosing something that's meaningful enough to matter, but small enough to be sustainable. You want to feel the satisfaction of progress without the overwhelm of impossibility. The chain visualization that protects your streak. Humans are visual creatures. Abstract commitments fade, but visible progress persists. This is why you need a simple, physical way to track your streak that you see every day. The classic method is Seinfeld's calendar with red X's. Each completed day gets marked immediately. The growing chain of X's becomes a visual representation of your commitment and a powerful motivator to keep going. Breaking the chain means starting over from zero, which becomes psychologically painful as the chain grows longer. Some builders prefer digital tracking, but there's something powerful about the physical act of marking a calendar. It creates a moment of celebration and reinforcement. It makes the abstract concept of consistency concrete and visible. The visual also serves as a daily reminder of your commitment. When you see 47 consecutive X's, you're not just looking at marks on a calendar, you're looking at evidence of who you've become. That evidence makes day 48 feel inevitable. The weekly feedback loop that keeps you learning. Streaks without feedback become mindless repetition. You need a systematic way to ensure your daily reps are actually moving you toward your goal, not just creating the illusion of progress. Every Friday, ask 3 questions. What moved this week? Why did it move? What will you adjust next week? This weekly review keeps your learning rate high without disrupting your consistency. The key is adjusting scope and approach, not cadence. If your daily writing isn't producing the quality you want, you might change your writing process or your research method, but you don't change the commitment to write daily. The streak stays sacred. Everything else is negotiable. This feedback loop prevents the common trap of consistent mediocrity. You're not just doing the same thing every day, you're doing the same thing better every day. The combination of consistency and continuous improvement creates exponential results. The myths that sabotage streaks. 3 dangerous myths prevent most people from building powerful streaks. First, the big blocks or bust mentality. People think they need 2-hour sessions to make meaningful progress, so they skip days when they only have 20 minutes. In reality, 20 minutes daily for 100 days produces more than 2 hours weekly for 14 weeks. Second, the missing once is harmless fallacy. People underestimate the psychological cost of breaking a streak. It's not just one missed day, it's the erosion of identity and the reset of momentum. Protecting the streak is more important than optimizing any individual session. Third, the streaks kill creativity myth. People worry that daily commitments will make their work formulaic or boring. The opposite is true. Constraints focus creativity. When you show up daily, you're forced to find new approaches, experiment with different techniques, and push through creative blocks. The muse shows up when you do. The identity transformation timeline. The transformation happens in predictable phases. Days 1-10 feel like discipline. You're using willpower to force yourself to show up. Days 11 to 30 feel like habit formation. The action becomes more automatic, but you still need conscious effort. Days 31 to 60 feel like identity shift. You start thinking of yourself as someone who does this daily. Days 61 to 100 feel like compound momentum. The action becomes effortless, and the results become undeniable. You're not just maintaining a streak, you're living as the person you've become through the streak. By day 100, something remarkable has happened. You've not only completed a significant project or achieved a meaningful goal, you've proven to yourself that you can commit to something and follow through completely. This proof becomes the foundation for bigger commitments and bolder goals. the streak insurance that protects your chain. Life will test your streak. Travel, illness, family emergencies, work crises, these are not possibilities, they're certainties. The question isn't whether they'll happen, but whether you'll be prepared when they do. Streak insurance means pre-planning micro versions of your daily rep for challenging circumstances. If your normal rep is writing 200 words, your travel version might be writing 50 words on your phone. If your normal rep is recording a video, your sick day version might be outlining the next video. The goal isn't to maintain full productivity during difficult times, it's to maintain the streak. The psychological value of an unbroken chain far exceeds the practical value of any individual session. Some builders create emergency kits, pre-written content, offline tools, or simplified processes they can use when normal conditions aren't available. Others schedule buffer time or wake up earlier to protect their streak from daily chaos. The compound effect that surprises everyone. After 100 days of consistent daily action, most builders are shocked by what they've accomplished. Not just the quantity of work, though that's usually impressive, but the quality of their thinking, the efficiency of their processes, and the confidence in their capabilities. The streak doesn't just produce output, it produces a new version of yourself. Someone who trusts their own commitments. Someone who can start projects knowing they'll finish them. Someone who understands that consistency beats intensity, that systems beat motivation, and that showing up beats showing off. This transformation becomes the foundation for everything that follows. Your next project feels more achievable because you've proven you can sustain effort over time. Your next goal feels more realistic because you've experienced the power of compound progress. But there's one more element that transforms consistent effort into exceptional results. Even with daily action and growing momentum, you can still get bogged down in complexity, overwhelmed by options, and distracted by non-essential activities. The next chapter reveals how the fastest builders strip away everything that doesn't matter to focus their consistency on what moves the needle most. Chapter 6: Brutal Simplicity. Your dashboard has 47 metrics. Your project management tool tracks 23 different task categories. Your weekly planning session requires a 12-page template. You've got tools for everything: communication, collaboration, automation, optimization, visualization, and synchronization. Your system is sophisticated, comprehensive, and completely overwhelming. Here's the brutal truth: complexity is killing your speed. While you're managing your management systems, your focused competitors are shipping products. While you're optimizing your optimization tools, they're optimizing their results. While you're coordinating your coordination platforms, they're coordinating with customers. The fastest builders in the world share a counterintuitive trait: they're ruthlessly simple, not because they lack sophistication, but because they understand that sophistication without results is just expensive procrastination. The hidden tax of complexity. Every tool you add, every metric you track, every process you implement creates what economists call coordination costs. These are the hidden expenses of managing the thing that's supposed to help you manage the thing. Think about your current setup. How much time do you spend updating project boards instead of completing projects? How many meetings do you attend about meetings? How often do you research productivity tools instead of being productive? This coordination tax compounds quickly. Each additional element in your system doesn't just add its own overhead, it creates exponential interactions with every other element. 2 tools require 1 integration, 3 tools require 3 integrations, 10 tools require 45 integrations. The complexity grows faster than the capability. But the real cost isn't time, it's cognitive load. Your brain has limited processing power, and every additional input competes for that power. When you're tracking 17 metrics, you're not really tracking any of them. When you're managing 8 priorities, you're not really prioritizing anything. The solution isn't better management of complexity, it's the elimination of complexity. The one metric revolution. Here's the question that changes everything. If you could only track one number to measure your progress, what would it be? Not 3 numbers, not 5 key performance indicators. One number that, if it moved in the right direction, would indicate that everything else was working. This isn't about ignoring other metrics. It's about establishing hierarchy. Your one metric that matters becomes the sun around which everything else orbits. Every decision, every task, every weekly goal gets evaluated against its impact on this single number. When Airbnb was struggling in its early days, the founders could have tracked dozens of metrics: website traffic, user registrations, host signups, booking conversion rates, customer satisfaction scores, and revenue per user. Instead, they focused obsessively on one metric: nights booked. Everything they did was designed to increase that number. This singular focus helped them identify the real problems and ignore the noise. Your one metric creates clarity in chaos. When someone asks if you should attend that conference, you ask, "Will this move my metric?" When you're deciding between 2 features to build, you ask, "Which one moves my metric faster?" When you're planning your week, you ask, "What 3 things will most impact my metric?" This isn't oversimplification, it's strategic clarity. You're not ignoring complexity, you're subordinating it to what matters most. The 3-move week strategy. Most people plan their weeks like they're playing chess against a grandmaster, trying to think 15 moves ahead and account for every possible scenario. But business isn't chess. It's more like poker. You make the best decision with incomplete information, then adapt based on what happens next. The 3-move week strategy acknowledges this reality. Instead of planning 20 tasks and hoping to complete 15, you identify 3 must-ship items and make everything else optional. These aren't just any 3 tasks. They're the 3 things that will most impact your one metric this week. If you only accomplished these 3 things and nothing else, the week would still be a success. This constraint forces brutal prioritization. You can't hide behind busy work or convince yourself that everything is equally important. You have to choose what matters most and let everything else wait. The psychological effect is profound. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by an endless task list, you feel focused on a manageable target. Instead of ending the week wondering what you accomplished, you know exactly what moved the needle. The deletion audit that reveals what matters. The path to simplicity isn't addition, it's subtraction. But most people are terrible at subtraction because they focus on what they might lose instead of what they'll gain. Here's how to think about deletion. Every tool, process, and metric you eliminate frees up mental bandwidth for what remains. Every meeting you cancel creates time for deep work. Every report you stop generating removes a distraction from your one metric. Start with a comprehensive audit. List every tool you use, every report you generate, every meeting you attend, and every metric you track. Then ask 3 questions for each item. Does this directly impact my one metric? Would I miss it if it disappeared tomorrow? Can someone else handle this without my involvement? If the answer to all 3 questions is no, delete it immediately. If the answer to 2 questions is no, schedule it for deletion next week. If the answer to 1 question is no, put it on probation and reevaluate in a month. This process feels scary at first. What if you need that backup tool? What if that secondary metric reveals something important? What if that weekly status meeting prevents a crisis? Here's the reality. Most of what you think you need, you don't. Most of what you think is important isn't. Most of what you think prevents problems creates them. The dashboard revolution. Your current dashboard probably looks like a NASA Mission Control Center. Dozens of screens, hundreds of data points, and enough information to overwhelm a team of analysts. This isn't helping you make better decisions. It's paralyzing you with options. The fastest builders use dashboards that fit on one screen and can be understood in 30 seconds. One primary metric displayed prominently with a clear trend line showing progress over time. Maybe 2 supporting metrics that help diagnose problems when the primary metric moves in the wrong direction. That's it. No heat maps, no pie charts, no drill down capabilities. just the essential information needed to answer one question: are we moving in the right direction? This simplicity forces you to think clearly about what actually matters. When you can only display 3 numbers, you choose the 3 numbers that tell the real story. When you can only track one trend, you track the trend that drives everything else. The daily review becomes effortless. 3 minutes every morning to check your numbers, understand the trend, and adjust your priorities accordingly. No analysis paralysis, no information overload, just clear data leading to clear action. The one-page operating system. Complex businesses require complex documentation, right? Wrong. The most successful operations can be described on a single page. Your one-page operating system contains 4 elements: purpose, why you exist; metric, how you measure success; cadence, when you do what; and roles, who does what. Everything else is commentary. Purpose isn't a mission statement. It's a clear description of the problem you solve and for whom. Metric is your one metric that matters. Cadence is your daily, weekly, and monthly rhythms. Roles define who's responsible for what outcomes. This document becomes your North Star. When you're confused about priorities, you reference the purpose. When you're unsure about success, you check the metric. When you're unclear about timing, you follow the cadence. When you're uncertain about responsibility, you clarify the roles. The constraint of one page forces clarity. You can't hide behind jargon or complexity. You have to distill your operation to its essence and communicate it simply. The myths that keep you complex. 3 dangerous myths prevent most people from embracing simplicity. First, the myth that more tools create more leverage. In reality, tool proliferation creates tool management overhead. The most leveraged builders use fewer tools more deeply rather than many tools superficially. Second, the myth that detailed plans guarantee success. Complex plans feel safer because they account for more variables, but they're actually more fragile because they have more failure points. Simple plans adapt faster to changing conditions. Third, the myth that sophistication impresses stakeholders. The opposite is true. Stakeholders don't buy complexity, they buy results. They don't care about your elaborate systems, they care about your consistent delivery. Simplicity is a sign of mastery, not naivety. The constraint challenges that force clarity. Sometimes, the best way to achieve simplicity is to impose artificial constraints that force you to eliminate the non-essential. These constraint challenges reveal what really matters by making everything else impossible. Try building your next project with only one tool. Not the best tool for each function, but one tool that handles everything adequately. The constraint forces you to focus on execution rather than optimization. Try explaining your business model in exactly 10 words. Not 11, not 9, 10. The constraint forces you to identify the core value proposition and eliminate the fluff. Try shipping your next feature in exactly 3 steps. Not a complex workflow, not a comprehensive process. 3 steps. The constraint forces you to focus on the essential path and eliminate the nice-to-haves. These constraints feel limiting at first, but they're actually liberating. They remove the paralysis of infinite options and force you to focus on what works. The compound effect of simplicity. When you master brutal simplicity, something remarkable happens. Your decision-making speed increases because you have fewer variables to consider. Your error rate decreases because you have fewer moving parts to break. Your stress level drops because you have fewer things to manage. But the real magic happens in your ability to scale. Simple systems can be taught quickly, replicated easily, and improved systematically. Complex systems require heroes to manage them. Simple systems run themselves. Your stakeholders notice the change too. Instead of being impressed by your sophisticated setup, they're impressed by your consistent results. Instead of wondering how your complex system works, they trust that your simple system delivers. Simplicity becomes your competitive advantage. While your competitors are managing their management systems, you're managing your results. But even with radical simplicity, there's still one more obstacle that can derail your momentum. hidden friction points that steal minutes and break flow states, creating invisible drag on everything you've built so far. The next chapter reveals how to identify and eliminate these micro barriers that separate good execution from effortless execution. Chapter 7, Friction Audit. You sit down to work at 9 a.m., ready to tackle your most important project. First, you need to find the file. It's not in the obvious folder, so you search. Found it. Now you need to remember where you left off. You scroll through pages of notes, trying to reconstruct your last thought. Finally oriented, you're ready to begin. It's 9:17 a.m. You haven't written a single word, but you've already burned 17 minutes on. What exactly? Nothing dramatic, nothing you'd even notice if someone asked. Just a series of tiny delays that somehow consumed nearly 20 minutes of your most productive hour. This is friction, the invisible force that's stealing your speed one micro delay at a time. Most builders focus on the big obstacles, lack of motivation, unclear goals, insufficient resources. But the real speed killer isn't the mountain in your path, it's the 1,000 pebbles in your shoes. Each one seems insignificant, but together they slow you to a crawl. The death by 1,000 paper cuts. Friction operates like compound interest in reverse. A 30-second delay to find a password doesn't seem significant, but 30 seconds, 60 times per day, equals 30 minutes of lost productivity. Multiply that by 5 days, and you've lost 2.5 hours per week to a single friction point. Now multiply that by all the friction points in your workflow: unclear next steps, missing templates, disorganized files, forgotten passwords, ambiguous checklists, broken bookmarks, outdated shortcuts, and unclear definitions of done. Each one steals seconds or minutes, but together they steal hours. The psychological impact is even worse than the time loss. Each friction point breaks your flow state and forces your brain to switch from execution mode to problem-solving mode. You're not just losing the time it takes to find the file, you're losing the momentum you had before you started looking for it. This is why some days feel exhausting despite accomplishing little. You've spent your mental energy navigating friction instead of creating value. You've been busy, but busy with the wrong things. The solution isn't working harder or trying to power through. It's systematically identifying and eliminating the friction that's slowing you down. The 3 types of friction that kill momentum. Friction attacks at 3 critical moments: when you start, when you finish, and when you restart after an interruption. Each type requires a different approach, but all 3 must be addressed to achieve effortless execution. Start friction is anything that delays your first productive action. This includes finding files, remembering passwords, setting up your workspace, or figuring out what to do next. Start friction is particularly dangerous because it can prevent you from beginning at all. When starting feels hard, procrastination feels easy. Finish friction is anything that prevents you from completing and shipping your work. This includes unclear definitions of done, missing approval processes, or uncertainty about next steps. Finish friction is insidious because it can turn completed work into abandoned work. You finish the hard part, but get stuck on the easy part. Restart friction is anything that makes it difficult to resume work after an interruption. This includes losing your place, forgetting your train of thought, or needing to rebuild context. Restart friction is costly because interruptions are inevitable, but momentum loss is optional. Most people experience all 3 types daily, but never address them systematically. They accept friction as an inevitable part of work instead of recognizing it as a solvable design problem. The 7-day friction detective work. The first step in eliminating friction is making it visible. For the next 7 days, you're going to become a friction detective, tracking every delay longer than 30 seconds. Keep a simple log throughout your workday. Every time you pause, search, wait, or wonder what to do next, write it down. Note the trigger, the location, and how long it took to resolve. Don't try to fix anything yet. Just observe and record. This exercise reveals patterns you've never noticed. You'll discover that you search for the same file multiple times per week. You'll realize you spend 5 minutes every morning recreating the same workspace setup. You'll notice that certain tasks always stall at the same point. The patterns are more important than the individual incidents. A one-time delay is an annoyance. A recurring delay is a system failure that can be fixed once and eliminated forever. After 7 days, review your log and calculate the total time lost to each type of friction. You'll probably be shocked by the numbers. Most people discover they're losing 1 to 2 hours per day to friction they didn't even realize existed. The score and slice method. Once you've identified your friction points, you need to prioritize which ones to fix first. Not all friction is created equal. Some delays happen once per week, others happen 10 times per day. Use the score and slice method. Multiply frequency by time cost to calculate the total weekly impact of each friction point. A 30-second delay that happens 20 times per week costs you 10 minutes. A 5-minute delay that happens twice per week also costs you 10 minutes. But the 30-second delay feels less significant, so it often goes unfixed. Focus on the top 5 friction points first. These are your highest impact fixes, the changes that will return the most time for the least effort. Don't try to fix everything at once. Fix the big wins first, then move down the list. This prioritization prevents the common trap of optimizing low-impact friction while ignoring high-impact friction. It's satisfying to organize your desktop, but if that saves you 2 minutes per week while unclear project definitions cost you 2 hours per week, you're optimizing the wrong thing. The Start Script Revolution. The most powerful friction elimination tool is the Start Script, a predetermined sequence of actions that gets you from 0 to productive in under 2 minutes. Instead of figuring out how to begin each time, you follow the same script every time. A start script might look like: open project file, read last 3 bullet points, write next ugly sentence. Or launch design tool, open yesterday's mockup, duplicate artboard, start timer. The specific actions matter less than the consistency and clarity. The script eliminates decision fatigue and provides a clear path from intention to action. You don't waste mental energy figuring out how to start, you just execute the script. This is particularly powerful for creative work, where the blank page can feel intimidating. Start scripts also create psychological momentum. Each completed step in the script builds confidence and energy for the next step. By the time you finish the script, you're already in motion and ready to continue. The key is making the script specific enough to be actionable, but flexible enough to work in different circumstances. You want a reliable process, not a rigid procedure. The finish line clarity. Finish friction often stems from unclear definitions of done. You complete the work, but don't ship it because you're not sure if it's ready. You second-guess the quality, add unnecessary features, or wait for perfect conditions that never arrive. The solution is defining done before you start, not after you finish. Write a clear, specific description of what completion looks like for each project. This might include functional requirements, quality standards, and shipping criteria. Your definition of done should be ambitious enough to maintain standards, but realistic enough to achieve consistently. It should answer the question, what's the minimum viable version that accomplishes the goal? This clarity eliminates the perfectionism trap that turns finished work into perpetual work in progress. When you hit your predefined standard, you ship immediately. No second guessing, no additional features, no waiting for inspiration. The restart ritual that saves sessions. Interruptions are inevitable, but momentum loss is optional. The key is having a systematic way to rebuild context and resume productive work quickly. Your restart ritual should be simple and consistent. Read the last 3 lines you wrote, identify the next specific action, and start a 10-minute timer. This sequence helps you remember where you were, clarifies where you're going, and creates urgency to begin. The timer is crucial because it prevents the common trap of spending more time preparing to restart than actually restarting. 10 minutes is enough to rebuild momentum, but short enough to feel manageable. Some builders leave themselves breadcrumbs at the end of each work session. notes about what to do next, half-finished sentences, or specific questions to answer. These breadcrumbs make restarting feel like continuing rather than beginning. The one-click environment. The fastest way to eliminate start friction is to create a one-click environment where everything you need opens automatically. This might mean bookmarking specific pages, pinning frequently used files, or creating desktop shortcuts to project folders. The goal is reducing the number of decisions and actions required to begin productive work. Instead of opening 6 different applications and navigating to 12 different files, you click once and everything appears. This setup takes time to create, but saves time every day thereafter. It's an investment in future efficiency that pays dividends immediately and compounds over time. The key is standardizing your environment so it's identical every time you work. Same window layout, same file locations, same tool configurations. Consistency eliminates the cognitive load of adapting to different setups. The template strategy. Many friction points stem from recreating the same structures repeatedly. Email templates, project briefs, meeting agendas, and status reports can all be templated to eliminate the friction of starting from scratch. Templates don't just save time, they improve quality by ensuring you don't forget important elements. A good template captures best practices and makes them automatic. The most effective templates include prompts for next steps. Instead of ending with completion, they guide you toward the next logical action. This prevents the common stall point of finishing one task but not knowing how to begin the next. The compound effect of frictionless flow. When you systematically eliminate friction, something remarkable happens. Work starts to feel effortless. You sit down and immediately begin productive action. You finish tasks and immediately ship them. You get interrupted and immediately resume momentum. This isn't just about saving time, it's about changing your relationship with work. Instead of fighting friction, you flow around it. Instead of forcing momentum, you design it. Instead of hoping for good days, you engineer them. The psychological benefits are as important as the practical ones. When work feels effortless, you're more likely to begin. When beginning feels easy, you're more likely to continue. When continuing feels natural, you're more likely to finish. But there's one more obstacle that can undermine everything you've built so far. Even with perfect systems and frictionless workflows, there's still a force that can scatter your attention and reset your progress to zero. The next chapter reveals how the most focused builders protect their momentum from the constant pull of novelty and the addiction to new information. Chapter 8, Anti-Scroll. You open your laptop with a clear mission. Finish the proposal that's been sitting in your drafts for 3 days. But first, you'll just check if there are any urgent messages. Nothing urgent, but there's an interesting article about productivity techniques. You bookmark it for later. While you're at it, you might as well see what's happening in your industry. Just a quick scroll through the news feed. Oh, there's a new tool that promises to revolutionize project management. The demo looks impressive. You bookmark that too. 30 minutes later, you've consumed 17 pieces of content, bookmarked 12 resources, and added 8 new tools to your maybe try later list. Your brain feels full of insights and possibilities. You feel informed, current, and strategically aware. But the proposal is still sitting in your drafts, untouched. This is the modern productivity paradox. We mistake consuming information for creating value. We confuse learning about progress with making progress. We trade the hard work of building for the easy pleasure of browsing. The dopamine deception. Your brain can't tell the difference between the satisfaction of learning something new and the satisfaction of accomplishing something meaningful. Both activities trigger dopamine release, but only one creates actual value in the world. This neurological quirk creates a dangerous substitution effect. When you read about marketing strategies, your brain rewards you as if you've actually improved your marketing. When you watch videos about productivity, you feel productive without producing anything. When you research new tools, you experience the satisfaction of optimization without optimizing anything. The deception is so complete that you can spend entire days feeling busy and accomplished while creating nothing of value. You're not lazy, you're trapped in a cycle where consumption masquerades as contribution. The modern information environment amplifies this trap. Every platform is designed to make browsing feel important. Headlines promise secrets, shortcuts, and breakthroughs. Content creators package basic concepts as revolutionary insights. Your feed becomes an endless stream of must-know information that feels urgent but rarely is. Breaking free requires recognizing that novelty is not progress. Learning is not building. Consuming is not creating. The fastest builders understand this distinction and design their days accordingly. The input quota revolution. The solution isn't eliminating learning, it's constraining it. Information becomes valuable when it's scarce and actionable. When it's abundant and passive, it becomes noise. Here's the counterintuitive truth. Limiting your information intake actually accelerates your learning. When you can only consume 30 minutes of content per day, you become ruthlessly selective about what deserves your attention. You stop reading everything and start reading only what directly applies to your current project. This constraint forces you to prioritize action over accumulation. Instead of collecting insights for someday, you apply insights today. Instead of building a library of possibilities, you build a track record of results. The quota also creates urgency around implementation. When you know your learning time is limited, you're motivated to test new concepts immediately rather than filing them away for later. This urgency transforms passive consumption into active experimentation. Most importantly, the quota protects your creative energy. Your brain has limited processing power, and every input competes for that power. When you cap your inputs, you preserve mental bandwidth for outputs. You trade the illusion of staying informed for the reality of making progress. The Build First protocol. The most powerful constraint you can implement is the Build First rule. No new inputs until today's artifact ships. This simple rule transforms your relationship with information from passive to active, from consuming to creating. Under this protocol, you start each day by producing something, a draft, a prototype, a test, a demo. Only after you've shipped something can you consume something. This sequence ensures that creation always precedes consumption, that output always comes before input. The psychological effect is profound. When you know you can't browse until you build, procrastination becomes impossible. The path to information gratification runs through creation. You can't satisfy your curiosity until you satisfy your commitment. This rule also improves the quality of your consumption. When you've spent the morning building, you approach new information with specific questions and immediate application opportunities. You're not browsing aimlessly. You're seeking solutions to problems you've just encountered. The Build First rule creates a virtuous cycle where action generates questions, questions guide learning, and learning improves action. This is how mastery actually develops, through the tight integration of doing and learning, not through the separation of them. The refine, don't reset principle. The most seductive trap in the information age is the constant temptation to start over. You discover a new framework, a better approach, or a more elegant solution, and suddenly your current work feels obsolete. The urge to reset and rebuild with this new knowledge feels irresistible. This reset impulse destroys more progress than any other force. Every time you start over, you abandon the accumulated learning, refined processes, and momentum you've built. You trade proven progress for theoretical improvement. The refine, don't reset principle offers a better path. Instead of replacing what you've built, improve it incrementally. Take the new insight and apply it as a small upgrade to your existing work. Make your current asset 1% better rather than starting a new asset from scratch. This approach preserves your momentum while incorporating new learning. You get the benefits of fresh insights without the costs of fresh starts. Your work evolves rather than revolves, compounds rather than resets. The principle also forces you to evaluate new information more critically. When you can't use new knowledge as an excuse to start over, You have to determine whether it's actually better than what you're currently doing. Most of the time, it isn't. Most revolutionary insights are just familiar concepts in new packaging. The archive strategy that protects focus. Your information environment shapes your behavior more than your willpower does. If your feeds are full of distracting content, you'll be distracted. If your bookmarks are cluttered with someday maybe links, you'll feel overwhelmed. If your desktop is covered with interesting articles, you'll read instead of write. The solution is environmental design. Remove tempting inputs from your immediate environment and batch them in designated consumption windows. Unfollow accounts that provide entertainment disguised as education. Remove apps that invite mindless scrolling. Hide bookmarks that represent future projects rather than current priorities. This isn't about becoming uninformed. It's about becoming selectively informed. You're not avoiding all information. You're avoiding irrelevant information. You're not cutting yourself off from learning. You're cutting yourself off from learning that doesn't serve your current goals. The key is making consumption intentional rather than automatic. Instead of stumbling across interesting content throughout the day, you actively seek specific information during designated times. Instead of reacting to whatever appears in your feed, you proactively research solutions to current problems. The compound pass system. While you're constraining new inputs, you should be maximizing the value of existing outputs. The compound pass system involves regularly revisiting and improving your previous work rather than constantly creating new work. Each week, pick one piece of content, one process, or one asset you've already created and make it 1 to 3% better. This might mean improving the copy, refining the structure, or enhancing the user experience. The improvements are small, but the compounding effect is massive. This system leverages the 80-20 principle. Most of your results come from a small percentage of your work. Instead of creating more work, hoping to find the next winner, you improve your existing winners to make them even more effective. The psychological benefits are as important as the practical ones. When you regularly improve your past work, you develop confidence in your ability to create valuable assets. You stop treating each project as a one-shot attempt and start treating it as an evolving investment. The myths that keep you scrolling. 3 dangerous myths keep most builders trapped in consumption cycles. First, the one more resource myth. The belief that the next article, video, or course will provide the missing piece that unlocks success. In reality, you already have enough information to make significant progress. The missing piece isn't knowledge, it's application. Second, the new tactic equals breakthrough myth. The belief that discovering a novel approach will create exponential results overnight. Most breakthroughs come from executing basic strategies consistently, not from finding secret strategies. The magic is in the doing, not in the knowing. Third, the starting fresh is faster myth. The belief that rebuilding with new knowledge is more efficient than refining with current knowledge. Starting fresh feels faster because it's easier than improving, but it's actually slower because it abandons accumulated progress. These myths persist because they offer psychological comfort. It's easier to research solutions than to implement them. It's more exciting to plan new projects than to finish current ones. It's more satisfying to feel informed than to feel challenged. The withdrawal management strategy. When you first implement input constraints, you'll experience something like withdrawal. Your brain has become accustomed to regular hits of novelty, and the absence feels uncomfortable. You'll find yourself reaching for your phone, opening new tabs, or inventing reasons to research something. This discomfort is temporary, but predictable. The key is having a replacement behavior ready. When you feel the urge to browse, channel that energy into micro-improvements on your current work. Edit a paragraph, refine a process, or test a small variation. These micro-refinements satisfy your brain's need for novelty while keeping you focused on your current project. You're still learning and improving, but you're doing it through creation rather than consumption. The withdrawal period typically lasts 2 to 3 weeks. After that, your brain adapts to the new pattern and the urge to constantly consume information diminishes. You'll find yourself naturally preferring creation to consumption, building to browsing. The mastery acceleration effect. When you stop chasing new methods and start refining current methods, something remarkable happens. Your rate of improvement accelerates. This seems counterintuitive. Shouldn't exposure to more ideas create faster learning? The opposite is true. Mastery comes from depth, not breadth. When you commit to one path and improve it systematically, you develop nuanced understanding that can't be gained through surface-level exposure to many paths. Your feedback loops also tighten. Instead of jumping between different approaches and never getting clear data on any of them, you stick with one approach long enough to understand what works, what doesn't, and why. This understanding becomes the foundation for intelligent refinement. The compound effect is exponential. Each improvement builds on previous improvements. Each refinement reveals new optimization opportunities. Each iteration increases your expertise in that specific domain. After months of this focused refinement, you'll have developed genuine expertise in your chosen approach. You'll understand subtleties that casual practitioners miss. You'll be able to diagnose problems quickly and implement solutions confidently. But even with perfect focus and systematic refinement, there's still one more challenge that can undermine everything you've built. The final chapter reveals how to lock in your gains and create a system that becomes stronger over time, turning temporary improvements into permanent transformation. Chapter 9. Keep compounding. You're not the same person who started reading this book. That person was scattered, reactive, and hoping for breakthrough moments. This person, the one reading these words right now, has a system. You understand that speed isn't a personality trait, it's a design choice. You know that momentum isn't luck, it's architecture. But here's what separates the builders who transform their lives from those who return to old patterns. The next 100 days. Everything you've learned becomes worthless unless you protect it, practice it, and compound it into something unstoppable. This isn't the end of your journey, it's the beginning of your acceleration. The operating system you've built. Let's consolidate what you now possess. You have 8 interconnected principles that transform scattered effort into focused momentum. These aren't random productivity hacks. They're a complete operating system for speed. Decide once eliminates the energy drain of redeciding. You make binding commitments at the identity level and create default rules that remove willpower from routine choices. Velocity becomes a function of clarity multiplied by constraint. Single focus concentrates your force on one project, one metric, one deadline. Depth compounds while switching taxes. You finish more by finishing faster, not by starting more. Relentless Doing makes shipping your default mode. Daily cutoffs force truth on schedule. You produce first, then refine. You ship, then shine. Action creates data, data creates direction. 100 days turns momentum into identity through minimum viable consistency. Streaks make behavior automatic. Feedback Fridays adjust without resetting. You become someone who doesn't miss. Brutal simplicity strips away everything that doesn't move your lead metric. You delete to reveal the signal. Complexity increases error rates. Simplicity raises fault tolerance. One metric that matters guides everything. Friction Audit eliminates the micro barriers that steal minutes and break flow states. You fix start friction, finish friction, and restart friction. Design beats discipline. Behavior follows the path of least resistance. Anti-scroll protects your attention from novelty addiction. You build first, browse later. You refine instead of reset. Continuity beats novelty. Mastery accelerates when you stop chasing new methods. These principles work together like gears in a machine. Each one amplifies the others. Decisions enable focus. Focus enables shipping. Shipping builds streaks. Streaks create identity. Identity makes the whole system automatic. The power you now wield. This system gives you 3 forms of power that most people never develop: personal agency, strategic calm, and asymmetric edge. Personal agency means you control your cadence, not external circumstances. You can convert any day into productive output on command. You end the busy but stuck era forever. When others are waiting for motivation, you're running on standards. When others are hoping for breakthrough moments, you're creating them systematically. Strategic calm emerges from simple systems and fast cycles. Your mind quiets because your path is clear. Uncertainty doesn't paralyze you because your cycles are short enough to adapt quickly. Confidence becomes earned through evidence, not imagined through optimism. Asymmetric edge means you can outdecide, outfocus, and outship larger competitors. You learn faster than they plan. You win on cycle time while they lose on coordination costs. Size becomes a disadvantage when speed is the game. These powers compound over time. Each successful cycle increases your confidence in the system. Each completed project proves your capability. Each maintained streak reinforces your identity. You don't just get better at executing, you get better at getting better. The relationship revolution. This system transforms more than your work. It transforms your relationships. When you become reliable, people start trusting you with bigger opportunities. When you set clear boundaries, people respect your time. When you ship consistently, people want to collaborate with you. Reliability replaces excuses because your system protects your promises. You don't make commitments you can't keep because your focus contract prevents overcommitment. You don't miss deadlines because your daily cutoffs force realistic scoping. You don't create last-minute chaos because your streaks maintain steady progress. Clear boundaries emerge naturally from your operating system. Your focus blocks are non-negotiable, so people learn when you're available and when you're not. Your simple rules reduce negotiation fatigue. You don't debate every request because your yes-no lists provide instant answers. Better collaboration happens because you demo instead of debate. Your weekly shipping creates specific feedback opportunities. Your shared metrics align everyone's effort toward the same outcome. People know what to expect and when to expect it. The compound effect extends beyond professional relationships. Your family sees someone who keeps promises and maintains presence. Your friends see someone who follows through on commitments. Your community sees someone who contributes consistently rather than sporadically. The capabilities you've unlocked. With this system, you can now achieve things that were impossible before. You can finish flagship work on schedule, launching significant assets monthly instead of yearly. You can hit dates without heroics because your daily shipping prevents last-minute scrambles. You stack proof instead of promises. You can scale calmly, adding volume without adding chaos. Your one-page operating system lets you onboard help faster because the rules are clear and simple. You maintain quality as cadence increases because your minimum standards are predefined and your feedback loops are tight. You can rebound faster from setbacks and interruptions. Misses become microblips instead of tailspins because your restart rituals restore momentum quickly. Your monthly friction audits keep your system optimized. Your streaks create resilience against temporary disruptions. These capabilities create a virtuous cycle. Success builds confidence. Confidence enables bigger commitments. Bigger commitments create bigger successes. Your capacity expands because your system scales with your ambition. The effortless future. Here's the most remarkable aspect of this system. It becomes easier over time, not harder. Most productivity approaches require constant willpower and create eventual burnout. This system requires initial discipline, but creates eventual automation. Identity automation happens as your streaks rewire your self-concept. You stop being someone who tries to ship daily and become someone who ships daily. The behavior becomes as automatic as brushing your teeth. You don't debate whether to do your daily rep. That would be like debating whether to breathe. Systemic compounding occurs as your one metric guides all improvements. Small refinements stack into big advantages. Your assets get better while your effort stays constant. Your curve bends exponential because each improvement builds on previous improvements. Cognitive dividends emerge as simplicity frees mental bandwidth for creativity. Less friction means more flow. Momentum becomes your baseline instead of your exception. You operate from a state of calm confidence rather than anxious urgency. The paradox is profound. The more systematic you become, the more creative you feel. The more constrained your choices, the more freedom you experience. The more you focus on one thing, the more opportunities you create. Your next 30 days. Everything depends on what you do in the next 30 days. Knowledge without application is just entertainment. Systems without implementation are just theories. The gap between knowing and doing is where most transformations die. Here's your immediate action plan. Right now, before you close this book, choose one measurable outcome you want to achieve in the next 30 days. Not 3 outcomes, 1. Write your focus contract with the outcome, vehicle, deadline, and daily cutoff. Make it specific enough to be binary. You either achieve it or you don't. Today, before 5 p.m., define the smallest artifact you can ship that moves you toward that outcome. Use the 2-pass method. Produce without judgment, then refine to your minimum standard. Ship it, log it, mark your first X on a calendar. Tomorrow, and for the next 6 days, repeat the daily rep. Put these sessions on your calendar like important meetings. Plan your first Feedback Friday. Prepare micro reps for days when conditions aren't perfect. This isn't about perfection, it's about momentum. You don't need to implement every principle perfectly. You need to start the flywheel spinning. Once it's moving, you can refine and optimize. But first, it has to move. The velocity gap widens today. While you're reading these words, someone else is shipping. While you're planning your approach, someone else is testing theirs. While you're waiting for perfect conditions, someone else is creating them. The velocity gap between builders and planners widens every day. Every hour you delay implementation, someone else gains ground. Every day you postpone starting, someone else extends their lead. But here's the beautiful truth. You can close that gap faster than you think. One decision, one focus, one shipped artifact, one marked X. The compound effect works in your favor once you start the process. You're not behind, you're about to accelerate. You're not slow, you were scattered. You're not stuck, you were waiting. You're not hoping anymore, you're compounding. The unstoppable you. Imagine yourself 100 days from now. You've shipped 100 artifacts. You've maintained an unbroken streak. You've refined your system through 14 Feedback Fridays. You've eliminated dozens of friction points. You've proven to yourself that you can commit to something and follow through completely. You wake up knowing exactly what you'll accomplish today because your system makes it inevitable. You sit down to work and immediately begin productive action because your start scripts eliminate hesitation. You finish projects on schedule because your daily cutoffs prevent scope creep. People notice the change. They comment on your reliability, your focus, your calm confidence. They bring you bigger opportunities because they trust you to execute. They want to learn your secrets, but you know there are no secrets, just systems. You've become someone who turns time into assets, days into progress, and effort into outcomes. You've proven that speed isn't about talent or luck. It's about design and discipline applied consistently over time. This version of yourself isn't a fantasy. It's a prediction based on the principles you now understand and the system you're about to implement. The only variable is your willingness to start. The flywheel awaits. You have everything you need. You understand the principles. You know the sequence. You've seen the evidence. The only thing standing between you and the unstoppable version of yourself is the decision to begin. You're not slow. You were just scattered. Ship something. Mark the X. Start the streak. Your transformation begins now.